Well, in another major headache for the government, militant doctors are threatening to inflict years of misery on patients by staging walkouts beyond 2025. Junior medics and hospital consultants are taking to the picket lines for a total of 7 days this month over their pay demands. Union bosses have warned they will strike to the next election and beyond if that is what it takes. And now, it comes as the Health Secretary yesterday accused junior doctors of suddenly walking away from negotiations. Steve Barclay is reportedly willing to offer medics a bigger pay rise, arguing there needs to be movement on both sides. Well, the British Medical Association is calling for a 35% pay boost compared to the government's offer of 5%. I understand why junior doctors want an uplift. 29,000 for an FY1, which is the first year after you graduate, and FY2 isn't much better than that. They need more money.
Definitely.
But consultants who are on £120,000 demanding a 35% pay increase, by the way, whilst doing private work on the side, I don't think the public's really going to be on side. The other thing is that the BMA, and I have a bit of a bone to pick with the BMA, they're the ones that stopped the number of medical students going up. They wanted to limit the supply of doctors because then they would have autonomy, then they would have the government over a barrel. So they're part of the problem.
Why
here.
does limiting the number give them autonomy?
Well, so what it does is obviously then you have fewer doctors, therefore you have bigger demands, and therefore you can hold the government to ransom. So we have 7,500, I think, we train roughly every year. The government says it will go up to 15,000. That's the right thing. But one of the other things we need to look at: 25% of newly qualified doctors leave in the first year.
Yeah. And that is appalling. So if we paid them better, then maybe they would stay. But I think we need to create a deal whereby we let them subsidise some of their tuition fees on condition that they stay in the UK, in the NHS, for a minimum number of years. That seems to me a complete no-brainer, because they rack up massive amounts of debt.
So that's what the forces do.
We could, exactly that.
So when I was a medical student, I looked very seriously at joining one of the forces because they pay back your medical student debt. But by the time you're an FY1, you could owe 100 grand. So how are you going to pay that back?
It's clear that both sides need to come back to the table because, like you said, you know, doctors asking for a 35% pay increase, you're taking the mick. Let's be honest, you're taking the absolute mick. And 5% is not enough for doctors either. So both sides need to come back to the table because striking to 2025, it's like Just Stop Oil. You're going to lose your audience.
See, it will also be the nail in the coffin of the NHS because we've already got all these people waiting for operations.
Already backed up.
And it'll be the nail in some actual coffin because that is the consequence.
Because people will just get sicker and sicker.
If you're on 128 grand and you're demanding a 35% pay rise and you're getting loads and loads of money for your private work as well, so these people are probably on 200 grand plus, and you say, I'm going to walk out indefinitely, 5 days, more and more and more for time immemorial, knowing full well that that puts patients at risk. People will die because of this. Shame on you. Shame on you.
But you know that 35% uplift for consultants, that would equate to more than most people earn in this country.
And also, they've worked it out. Instead of using RPI, they've used CPI, or it's the other way around. So they haven't used the same measure of inflation that all other public sector unions have used to negotiate for this, which is, to my mind, just fiddling the books. And you know, Barclay is saying that he will move, and that I don't know whether it's true, but he said that they were the ones that walked out of the negotiations last week.
Well, you know, when you then up the pay of all the doctors and public sector workers, then inflation becomes out of control again. So then we get into a bigger cost of living. I mean, it's just going round and round and round. And I don't know what the solution is. But
in the middle of it are the patients who are suffering.
Correct.
People are dying because of these strikes.
We also know their outcomes are far worse because by the time they get treatment, they're much sicker.
And they should be manning A&E departments. They should not be walking out
All
of those.
we get is £128,000 a year. Pass me the world's smallest violin.